Mobile phone operator Turkcell says it's still on track to meet full-year profit forecasts, that despite a weakening lira and the continuing financial crisis in Turkey. Cüneyt Türktan is the CEO of Turkcell and joins us in the studio now. Cüneyt, many thanks for coming in this morning. Good to see you. As a background here, September 11th, aftermath, Turkey's financial crisis, an incredibly weak lira. At the same time, you say your financing woes are over and the business continues to grow.
Actually, what we have done with the devaluation in February, 100% almost devaluation coming to that, we have restructured the company and we are now back on track on EBITDA-wise, creating operational profit, which had mainly coming from the operational efficiency we have created. And we demonstrated that we can move operational profit from 12% levels to 33% levels, although there's a crisis, although weakening lira.
What is your debt position right now? How much debt have you got?
We have 1.6 billion US dollars as of today. And however, this year we have paid the principal amount of more than 300 million US dollars back. Together with the interest, 600 million US dollars, we have done debt repayment this year, although it was a difficult year.
And there are people out there prepared to continue to offer financing for Turkcell. Is that correct?
Yes, there are. Although there are difficult in the global markets financing on the technology operators, we have still in also local sources. There are people still offering financing.
Sorry, coming in.
Given that Argentina makes up, we're told, a quarter of all emerging market bonds, if the situation deteriorates in Argentina, how do you see that knocking on to Turkey, the lira, and are you mindful of how that could affect you as a business?
Yes, it is one point. Argentina is looking as a benchmark. Of course, Turkey has a rollover problem, may be a rollover problem on the domestic debts. That's important. But as of today, seen with IMF support and the World Bank support, we don't see much problem. And although we have been hearing that, positively hearing that IMF is going to support. So the critical thing will be the rollover of the debt, domestic debt of Turkey, actually.
Can I ask you about European partners? Do you have any at the moment? Do you have any telecom partners from Western Europe?
Yes, our 37% of Turkcell is owned by Sonera, Finnish operator. From the first day, they are within the system, and they fully support Turkcell.
And given the problems that Sonera has, are you expecting them to hang on to that stake?
No, as of today, they are hanging on the stake, and they were on the press releases. They fully support Turkey and Turkcell operation.
Just on press releases, you're not. I mean, they're not talking to you. That's a sizable stake. You might have thought that you'd be on the phone to them quite regularly.
No, they are fully supporting actually. When even the meetings we get together.
In terms of vendor financing agreements, do you have any with the big network equipment manufacturers at the moment?
Yes, we do get support from Ericsson. From the first day, we have the single infrastructure support from Ericsson, and we do have support from them.
Are you anticipating, in terms of the costs, your costs at the moment, in terms of the business, are you finding that they're, given the large inventories that exist around the world in networking equipment at the moment, particularly not 3G equipment, but 2G equipment, are you finding that actually quite cheap, and it's quite cheap to roll out networks at the moment?
No, one thing that we have a mega network. We have invested heavily in 1999 and the year 2000 for $2 billion US. With today's traffic trend, we have the largest network in Turkey, and we will not invest heavily this year or next year. So we have enough capacity and coverage in Turkey and plus we have the 2.5G infrastructure together with GPRS. We don't need much to invest for the next 2 years.
Cüneyt, I want to talk to you about this roaming arrangement. It is being imposed by the market regulator. Is it commercially viable for your company? Is it going to hurt you competitively, this? And if so, how are you going to fight it?
Now, one important thing, that regulatory body came up with a proposal. Now we have been sitting down and discussing the proposal. Most important thing, there's a technical issue part, whether further investment will be required, but the most important is the commercial part. It should be a win-win situation. We can't give or open our infrastructure to a newcomer without any price, without any fee, because we have invested $3.5 billion US. So there should be a cost to that. We believe that the other parties, new operators, should pay that.
Does the other side, does the regulator say it that way?
Regulators, we are not obliged to follow in a way with the regulator. We can appeal for that. But regulator wants to get solution.
What is the Turkish mobile market going to look like 5 years from now? How many players do you think there are going to be in that market, besides yourself?
Today there are two 900 operators, one of ourselves, and there are two 1800 operators. One is the Telecom Italia İştim Consortium, and the other one is Türk Telekom operation. So today there will be four. With UMTS license, there might be fifth one, based on the bidding process next year will start. So there will be 4 or 5 operators in Turkey. But the good thing is that the penetration is very low in Turkey. So still there's a room. Today penetration is 28%. There's a room to go to 50% levels when we compare to next 3 to 5 years.
That's very expensive, though, knowing the geography of Turkey. I mean, isn't most of the population, most of the wealth centred around Istanbul? Once you try and take that penetration out, it's a very costly thing to do per head, isn't it?
But as Turkcell, we have already done that. We have the mega network. We almost covered the 100% of the old towns and cities, more than 5,000 population.
Right. Is it true that you went through, and I think I'm right in saying you're the only Turkish company that's listed in the United States, is it true that you went for a 2-for-1 share split and then had a 10-for-1 reverse split?
Yes, we have increased we have the equity participation. It is close to 1 to 2%, 1 to 0.9%. And then we increased our ADRs. It was 250 shares per ADR, now 2,500 shares for ADR.
You see, an email is written from Germany, who obviously knows quite a bit about your company, and he's actually quite angry. He says that this shenanigans with the share splitting is one reason why foreigners, in his words, do not invest in Turkey.
No, it is, of course, the difficulty with the issues in Turkey. We are the first New York Stock Exchange company in Turkey, with both quoted in Istanbul and New York Stock Exchange. There are difficulties. One important difficulty is in Turkey, for example, there is no inflation accounting. So there are differences in the accounting principles that we are affected because we are the first.
Cüneyt, can I just bring you back to something about your own business? Can you just give us a discussion, a split in how your revenues are in terms of sort of fixed contracted business or pay-as-you-go business?
We have almost, if we look postpaid, prepaid versus, it is now around 60% of our subscribers are prepaid. It converted to cumulatively 60%. Monthly, it is 85% coming from prepaid.
Okay.
You put your prices up in the summer, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
How far do you think you can further raise these prices? I guess one to help your bottom line, but also to deal with the lira devaluation.
No, Turkey is an inflationary environment for the last 10, 15 years. People are used to price increases based on the inflation and devaluation. Of course, it is difficult to increase price at the volatile environment. So that's the reason although today there's a 140% depreciation on dollar, we have increased on the 76% levels. And mainly we increase at the end of August. We do increase, depends on the stability of FX. The important thing that operators should increase in a way because we all invest in US dollars. It's all equipment coming from Europe. In dollar terms, hard currency levels. So in order to maintain your system, you need to increase. But sometimes you need to absorb the cost. You do delayed increases. But it's an inflationary environment, people are used to increases.
Can I ask you one final question on a slightly broader subject? You, as a senior business leader in Turkey, must have an idea of how recent events are affecting both your country and the region and business within it. What impact are you seeing?
The most important thing that we had a program with IMF and the World Bank, however, with the 11 September incidents, of course, with the recessionary environment, which is now start to be observed in Europe or United States, may affect Turkey at the meantime. But the most important thing, Turkey, is the FX stability. As long as the FX stabilized, Turkey can be back on the track again.
Cüneyt, many thanks for coming in. Cüneyt Türktan, the CEO of Turkcell, with us here in the studio. We're going to take a break. Just gone 20 minutes to the hour. All the world news with Leon when we return. A number of CEOs still to come. Stay with Sport, folks.